Hey everyone, Mrs. Beckman here. Sorry I couldn't be there today, but I know that you're in good hands. I'm a little bummed because today is one of my favorite themes, which if you haven't figured out by now is camouflage. We're going to kind of pick up where we left off yesterday. So yesterday we talked about how to graph inequalities, and we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to merge it with what we've already learned with equations. We've learned how to solve two-step equations, so now we're going to solve two-step inequalities. And it is very, very similar to equations, except for there is one big difference that we have to be careful of. All right, so in all of your notes, you guys have two tables that look like this. 6 is less than 12, and I think you guys all would agree that 6 is less than 12. Okay, so on your tables, go ahead and answer each of these problems. So for example, if I would add 3 to both 6 and 12, because whatever we do to one side, we always do to the other side. So if I would add 3 to 6, I would get 9. And if I added 3 to 12, I would get 15. And I want you to fill in the correct symbol. Is 9 still less than 15? In this case, it is. So we're going to put in the less than symbol there. All right, go ahead on your own. We're going to practice adding different numbers to see if that would make a difference. So go ahead, add 2, add 1 to each side, add -1 to each side, -2, and -3. All right, go ahead and pause now so the students could add and fill in your symbols. All right, if you added 2 to both sides, you should have had 8 and 14. Still the same symbol. 8 is less than 14. If you would have added 1, it would have been 7 and 13. Still the less than symbol. If we would have added -1 this time, it would have been 5 and 11. Again, still 5 is less than 11. If we added -2, it would have been 4 and 10. Still 4 is less than 10. And if we would have added -3, we would have had 3 and we would have had 9. And 3 is still less than 9. So what you guys can see here is if we added a number to each side, whether it was positive or negative, it did not matter in the symbol. It still stayed less than. Nothing changed. So keep that in mind. If we add a positive or if we add a negative to both sides, the symbol will always stay the same. All right, now let's practice that again. This time we're going to be dividing. So we're going to divide by both positive numbers and negative numbers. Go ahead and get your answers and fill in the correct symbol in the middle of the column. You can pause now. All right, let's see how you did. Still, 6 is less than 12. Everybody agrees with that. If I divide both sides by 3, I would get 2 and 4. 2 is still less than 4. If I would divide both sides by 2, I would get 3 and 6, and 3 is still less than 6. So everything is still holding up here. If I divide both sides by 1, I would get 6 and 12. Again, symbol stays the same. If I would divide by -1 now, I would get -6 and -12. The negatives are a little bit harder to think about, so I always tend to think about money. How is losing $6 versus losing $12? Well, losing $6 is better or greater than losing $12. This time our symbol flipped. Let's see if it continues to do so on the other ones. 6 divided by -2 would be -3. 12 divided by -2 would be -6. If we're talking money, losing $3 is better than losing $6. All right, and the last one, 6 divided by -3 would be -2, and 12 divided by -3 would be -4. -2 is better, or losing $2 is better than losing $4. So you guys can see here, when we divided both sides by a positive number, our symbol stayed the same. But right here, when we divided both sides by a negative number, the inequality symbol had to flip to keep it to be true. So go ahead and write down what we just discovered in your notes. So we discovered that if you divide by a negative, the symbol flips, but also if we would multiply both sides by a negative, the symbol would also flip. And keep in mind that this does not mean your final answer is negative. That has nothing to do with it. It is literally the step that you write on both sides. Are you dividing both sides by a negative? If so, you need to flip the symbol. Or if you multiply both sides by a negative, you need to flip the symbol. All right, so here are the steps that we are going to write down in our notes. We are going to solve the equation, solve as we would in an equation. But we have to be careful of that rule that we just discovered, that if you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, that symbol needs to flip. That's the trickiest part today. And step 3, we are going to graph our inequality. And I was wondering how many of you guys could figure out what picture this is hiding in the water here. If you couldn't figure it out, that's a frog there in the picture. Okay, so let's practice a few of these. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line down the inequality just like I would in equals. 4x, that's my happy couple, the couple that's in love. Get rid of the outsider. So get rid of the plus 11, which would be a subtracting 11. Whenever you do to one side, do to the other side. So that would cancel out. We have 4x. Now when we subtract or add a number to both sides, remember we discovered that the inequality symbol stays the same. Adding and subtracting always stay the same. 27 minus 11 is 16. All right, now I have to get rid of the 4, split up your happy couple. I'm going to divide by 4. Now, since I am dividing by a positive number, if we divide by a positive, the inequality stays the same. If I would divide by a negative, that's when it flips. So since it was positive, we're going to get x is greater than, stays the same. And last, we're going to graph our answer here. So this is kind of what we did yesterday. We put 3 numbers on the number line. We put 3, 4, and 5, always one smaller and one bigger. And we would have an open circle at 4, since it's not equal to. And the big side of the inequality symbol is pointing to the x. So that means the x is our bigger number. So we're going to shade the bigger numbers. Or x is greater than, so we're going to shade the greater numbers. All right, I'm going to move my little fish here that is hidden in the picture. Let's zoom in here so you can see it a little bit. All right, same thing, draw your line. We have our happy couple. Get rid of the outsider, so get rid of the plus 10 with the subtracting 10. All right, that cancels. We have negative 7y is less than 7. And I need to get rid of that negative 7, so I'm going to divide by a negative 7. Notice I divided both sides by that same number of negative 7. This is when our inequality symbol needs to flip because of what I just wrote there, dividing both sides by negative 7. So we'll get y on the left. We will flip the symbol. to make it a greater than, and then our answer is going to be y is greater than -1. Notice I don't just have -1 or an equals -1. I need the whole thing. I need the letter y, I need the greater than symbol, and I need the -1. You have to have all three of those parts for that to be a correct answer. And then we're going to graph it. So -1 goes in the middle, one smaller is -2, and one bigger is 0. Since it's greater than, we're going to put an open circle, and we're going to shade the greater than numbers. All right, we're going to pause here for a commercial break, and I'm actually going to show it to you. Let me stop my share and I'll pull up a new screen. All right, so this video goes along with our camouflage theme. All right, we're going to get back to the notes here. Okay, so we're going to do 2 more examples. I'm going to draw the line down our inequality symbol again. Put a heart around our happy couple. They're in love. All right, we're going to get rid of the outsider. So we're going to get rid of the -6 by adding 6. And again, if you do it to one side, do it to the other. If you remember, when we add a number to both sides, our inequality symbol stays the same. So we're going to -5 plus 6 is 1, and we're going to keep the v over -4. All right, to get rid of the -4, to split the happy couple, we need to undo division, so we're going to multiply both sides by -4. Now, when we multiplied both sides by -4, we need to make sure that we flip our inequality symbol. So it's not going to be a greater than or equal to anymore. It's going to be a less than or equal to. And 1 times -4 is -4. So our final answer there is v is less than or equal to -4. Again, you need all 3 parts, the letter, the symbol, and the number. Okay, we're going to graph this. Again, we want 3 numbers on the number line. -4. One smaller is -5, and one bigger is -3. And since it's equal to this time, we're going to put a closed circle. And it says v is less than or equal to -4. So we're going to shade the numbers less than or equal to -4. All right, next one here. And draw a line down the inequality. Happy couple, make sure you include the negative with the 5x. We're going to get rid of the outsider, so the -3. We're going to add 3 to both sides, which would give us 10. Again, don't lose the negative with the 5. And when I add 3 to both sides, we do not flip the inequality symbol. However, whenever I divide both sides, I'm going to divide by a -5, and because I'm dividing by a negative, no matter what my answer is, if my answer is positive or negative, but because I divided both sides by a negative, I need to make sure I flip the inequality symbol. So it's going to be x is greater than -2. And we're going to graph our final answer. -2 in the middle, 1 less, -3, and 1 more, -1. We're going to put an open circle at -2, going to the right. All right, next question. Going to draw a line down the inequality symbol. Happy couple here is 5x. We're going to get rid of the outsider by subtracting 15. So I'm going to get 5x. Now when I subtract both sides, it does not flip, it stays the same. 10 minus 15 is -5. Next step, I need to split up the happy couple. I'm going to divide by 5. Now I divided by a positive this time, so it's going to stay. It does not matter that I get a -1 as my answer, but because I divided both sides by a +5, my inequality symbol needs to stay a less than or equal to. And we're going to graph this really quickly. So -1 in the middle, 1 smaller, and 1 bigger. We should have a closed circle since it's equal to. And we're going to shade the number smaller since it's less than or equal to. All right, last one before you guys try one on your own. Again, draw the line down the inequality symbol. Put a heart around your happy couple. Notice I included the negative with it. We're going to get rid of the outsider, so we're going to subtract 8 here. Oh, my pen's being funny. Give me a second. There we go. All right, so I have x over 2, and remember, include the negative out front. When I subtract, inequality symbol stays. 12 minus 8 is 4. Have to split up the happy couple, so I'm going to undo dividing by -2 by multiplying by -2. And here I multiplied by -2, so my symbol needs to flip whenever you multiply or divide by that negative number. So I'm going to have x is greater than -8. And if I graph it here really quickly, I put -8, 1 smaller, -9, 1 bigger, -7. I'm going to have an open circle since it's not equal to, and it's going to be shaded to the right. X is the bigger number, so I'm going to shade towards the bigger numbers. All right, here's where you're going to try this on your own. Go ahead and solve this inequality. You should get one of these 6 questions, and we're going to answer this on Nearpod here in just a second.